For deep transformation to happen, you need to consider these three aspects. And the more you explore and integrate and really weave these three aspects in, the easier transformation starts to happen. Now, these three pieces are your self practice, your healing practice, and your spiritual practice. And what I'm going to talk about is what the heck they are, how they support you, and how also you can get stuck in them. I'm also going to offer up a few suggestions on how you can get curious about these aspects so you can start weaving that into your day on a more regular basis. Now let's start with your self-practice. Now this is all, you guessed it, about getting to know yourself and how you relate to the environment. Now there's so many layers to this piece. We can get to know ourselves in so many different levels, right? We can get to know how we show up in the world. We can get to know our behavior, our survival patterns. We may start to really get to know our trauma. We might also get curious about how we experience all this. What is the experience we're having? And this to me is so important. Getting to know our body's response, our somatic experience, right? What am I feeling in my body on a day-to-day basis? When I'm stressed, when I'm relaxed, how do I know? What am I feeling? Is there a tension? Is there a tightness? Am I noticing things in my organs? Am I noticing things in my brain even, in my fluid system? There's so much that makes us us. And the more tuned in we get to this, the more we really get to know who we are and how we're showing up. This is what's most important. We're here, we're humans. How are we showing up in our crap? And how are we showing up in our truth? Now, second piece, our healing practice. Now, healing is an interesting piece because ultimately when we're getting to know ourselves, we might be revealing pieces and we might start to be healing some of these fragmentations that we may get caught in, some of these aspects that we recognize are maybe limiting us and holding us back. What is key here in the healing practice is that we also get support from other people. This can be our community, our friends, or specialists that specialize in the healing process. And why this is so valuable is because they see things that we don't. We only know what we know. And the more that we can invite someone else to maybe show us something new, show us something different, show us that there is more possible than what we are doing, this is so valuable. So this healing practice and getting the support of community or friends or family, and ideally someone who really has that expertise to help you heal these places that you're getting stuck, that you're blocked, that really helps transform. Now, spiritual practice. Ultimately, to me, a spiritual practice is the recognition that I am no longer I, that I am part of something bigger, more vast than myself as an individual. And the spiritual practice can be so many different things, but ultimately it's all the same thing. It is all that we are more than, we are everything, yet we are nothing. And often with a spiritual practice, it's this beautiful uncovering that I am more than me, that I am part of something bigger. And it can often be hard to find words for these experiences, but the practice is so beautiful to unravel and uncover and so valuable in the transformation process. Now, what can happen is we can easily get stuck in one of these aspects. So for example, in the spiritual practice, we can get really caught up in this enlightened experience. And I go like this with my hands because it is this very vast, expansive experience of being part of something so much bigger than I, and it's actually really easy to get lost in there because it feels really good, right? It's like, ooh, I'm part of something that's so, again, can't find words for it. But what can happen is we can get lost in that. We've lost a sense of I here in this planet as a human being, and we're caught up in this experience, which can often be called spiritual bypassing, right? We're bypassing and we're hanging out in this very vast, expansive experience, yet we've lost a sense of being here, being in our bodies. The healing practice we can also get lost in. We can get lost looking for answers. We can get lost moving from practitioner to practitioner, from modality to modality, trying to constantly fix, trying to get the solution to what's wrong, right? This is quite common. And then on the other side of things, we can also get lost in self. We can get lost in trying to just understand who am I, but without looking at the spiritual or the healing pieces, we kind of just keep running in these circles, and we're going to be a lot limited to making transformations when we're just kind of stuck in what we know. So the key is weaving in the three. The key is having an awareness of the three. And that's what I'm going to invite you to do right now, is get curious about which of these three aspects you resonate with the most and which do you resonate with the least. Okay? That's the start, is to get familiar with what your go-to is. Are you someone who prefers the spiritual practice and tends to kind of seek that? Or are you someone who really wants to get to know yourself? And, this can be through movement. This can be through explorations of self. It can be through a lot of different modalities, or just curious, doing workshops, doing trainings that teach you more about yourself. Or are you on that healing kick? And once you get to know which one is your go-to, how is it you can bring more awareness to these other aspects? So let's say you have a real strong spiritual practice, but you don't really actually feel your organs? Like what? What do you mean I feel my organs? Or you don't really have a sense of your experience when you are stressed. Or maybe you're never stressed because you're always kind of up here, right? Oh, interesting. I'm pretty stressed and I don't even know if I'm stressed, right? Get curious about that. What would it be like to pay attention to your actual body and your experiences from the inside? If you're someone who's always looking on the outside for answers, for healing solutions, what would it be like to go in, to feel self, to get to know oneself, to get curious about what's happening at your body's level so that you can start to unravel what's happening at a deeper level. Now, the more you kind of weave in these three pieces, especially getting to know self, especially at that somatic body level, the more the other two kind of start to just organically unravel and come together. So my advice here is first start with getting to know which one you tend to put your attention on, inviting curiosity into the other, and then more importantly, get to know oneself, get to know yourself, and get familiar with your experience. So that's what a lot of my work is about, is bringing attention to the experience so that you can then start to unravel what needs to be healed, which in turn also starts to allow you to get to know yourself at such a deeper level that the spiritual practice almost organically unravels, and there's a greater sense of self and greater sense of what we are part of and how we are really connected. And it's a really beautiful process. And honestly, it becomes easier the more we really weave these three pieces together. So get curious and feel free to check out my resources, because those are also great tools that invite a weaving of these three practices. And let me know how it goes. Write in the comments below where you're stuck, where you put more of your attention and where you're lacking. And then keep me updated on how the explorations go. All right, so go get curious, go explore, and let's all continue to play with this idea. And not even just the idea, the actual experiences of transforming.